Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Mythbusting here in the Mythbusting world, and in this episode today we're going to go over everything to do with the shields that were added in Minecraft 1.9, the combat update. Now I've gone over just about everything I could think of to do with these shields, and this is going to be a comprehensive guide to all the things you need to know about them, and we are going to start off with the very basics. So over here we have the crafting recipe. You can use any type of wood and you need a single ingot. That'll make a shield which you can hold down right click to block with. I'm sure you knew that, and if you have this in your offhand you can actually block with it wherever you are on your hotbar. However, if it has a right click function it's going to prioritize that, like the bow for example. So now that we know how to block, let's have a look in this crafting bench, because you can repair shields one with another. Both of these have a durability of 100, and there's actually a repair bonus, so you can see it's now 216 when you repair them. You can also repair a shield with a banner to create a coloured shield, as you can see here. If you have one of those already though, you can't use the banner again to repair it or to change the colour and repair it as well. Now those are the basics, and the rest of this I have split up into 5 different categories. First of all, we're going to cover the durability of a shield, then how damage reduction works, blockable sources of damage, and what happens with tipped arrows, as well as looking at shields and axes as well. But our first category is the durability of the shield, so let's jump right into it. So the shield has 336 points of durability. And there are some calculations that happen when you block an attack to decide how much of that durability is lost to the attack that you have blocked. Now, I have been attacking myself with arrows, I have been summoning in skeletons to try and kill me with various weapons, and all of this is in the name of verifying the game code, and I can say that it's actually been a pretty smooth process to figure this one out. So I've written it down a little bit different over here to how it's written in the game code, but it's pretty much the same deal. So when you block an attack, you're going to take 1 point of durability plus the amount of damage that you would have taken. Now, this is in points and not in hearts. So, for example, this guy over here will attack me for 6 hearts of damage, which is actually 12 attack points, which means it's going to be 30 in total, or sorry, 13 that is lost from the shield. Now, an important thing to point out here is that your armor that you have equipped is irrelevant. Let's say you got a full set of diamond with protection on. Obviously, you're going to take less damage from attacks. However, the attack's base damage is the amount that's going to be calculated here. So the armor doesn't reduce the amount of durability to the shield. Now, another thing to mention is that when you get shot with an arrow, you can ricochet the arrow onto the ground, and that has no effect on the durability at all. You still take the same amount. And another thing to point out is that projectiles don't actually damage the player at all. You of course block it entirely, however the damage it would have done will still be calculated, and therefore you'll still take durability damage to the shield. Moving on to damage reduction, I have once again been doing testing to verify that we are reading the game code correctly and that we understand it, and it all appears to be true, so let's go over it bit by bit. First of all, projectile damage will always be negated. You will take no damage from it. As you saw with the arrow attacking the player and us successfully blocking it, we take no damage. This is true of all projectile damage. However, if that projectile damage comes with some additional explosive damage, the explosive damage will be handled separately, so it won't be reduced to 0. And of course, you're still going to take durability on your shield from these attacks. Now, if it's not projectile and it is blockable, this calculation is going to happen 0.33 times the damage taken, which is essentially reducing it by 2/3. So that means you can block 2/3 of the damage with your shield. Now, it's after this has happened that the armor then comes into account. So if you've got a load of protection 4 diamond armor on, after it's already been reduced by 2/3, the armor will then be calculated after that. Now, last of all, if the damage is reduced to less than 1, basically 0, it's doing no actual damage, you'll still be knocked back, yet you take no durability on the shield and of course no damage at all, as you can see here. We are now going to cover the different sources of damage and which ones are blockable in this game. There are a lot of different types of damage, and I've broken it down into 4 different categories. We are going to start off with the completely unblockable first of all. So the first one here on our list is fire. This is both being set on fire as the player and standing in fire and taking damage from that. Both of those are unblockable. This next one right here is the voids, that horrible area down below that you can fall into when you're in a creative world like this. You take damage down there, it is unblockable by the shield. This next one is suffocation damage. That's when you're outside of the world border or inside a block. Then over here we have drowning, which occurs when you're underwater and you've run out of oxygen, then you start to drown and you can't block that with a shield. This next one right here is falling. Of course you can use feather falling to reduce the amount of damage, but blocking has no effect on falling damage. This next one is to do with the elytra, and it's when you collide into a block when flying with an elytra. That is a specific type of damage and it is not blockable. Then we have the ender pearl, because of course you take damage when you use one of these. Over here we've got magic, your potions and such, the status effects, all of those are unblockable with a shield. Then we have cactus. This damage occurs when you walk into a cactus. And then we've got lava for when you're standing inside lava. And this one right here is to represent a lightning bolt, like in the middle of a thunderstorm. If you get struck by lightning and you're blocking with your shield, unfortunately that's not going to make any difference. And the last one here is for falling sand. This is when sand falls and it lands. If you collide with it, you can take damage, and none of those forms of damage are blockable with a shield. This next category of damage is all explosives, and some of it is blockable, some of it isn't. It's going to sound a little bit confusing, but it boils down to one thing. If the explosion has an owner, it's blockable. If it doesn't, it isn't blockable by a shield. So for example, a bed, when activated in the nether or the end, creates an explosion. We've got a minecart TNT here and an end crystal as well. All of these types of explosion don't have an owner, therefore they can't be blocked by the shield. Now here we have the gas ball, we've got the wither skull attack and TNT. If this is set off by a player in a world, or you're fighting a wither or a ghast, those types of explosions are blockable. However, if you use the summon command to bring in a gas ball or a wither skull, they won't be blockable. The same thing is true for prime TNT as well. However, you can actually set this off in the world with redstone, and if you activate TNT with redstone, it doesn't have an owner and therefore it won't be blockable. So some types of explosions are blockable if they have an owner and others aren't. This category are the types of damage that are blockable by the shield, and to make things confusing, the first two types here are explosives, but they're explosives that always have an owner. For example, when a creeper blows up, and this one represents the shulker bullet. Now when the shulker bullet hits you, it's actually got a little bit of explosive damage, but that type is blockable with the shield. The next one here are melee attacks, for example zombies or slimes or other players that attack you. All of those forms are blockable. The next one is the ender dragon. For example, when you collide with the ender dragon, you can take damage, and also when it tries to attack you, all its types of attack are blockable with a shield. Then we have the Guardian laser. Believe it or not, the Guardian's laser attack is blockable with the shield. And this last one is Thorns, and that also includes a Guardian as well, which when you attack it and it has its spikes extended, uses the Thorns effect against you, which is blockable with the shield. This last category are the projectiles, which discussed earlier will negate all damage. So this isn't just blockable, it blocks all of the damage. And the first one is obviously arrows, which we've already covered. We have the Ghast Fireball and the Blaze Fireball, and then we also have the Shulker Bullet, which isn't to be confused with the explosive damage that happens as well. When the Shulker attacks you, you've got the projectile damage and you've got the explosive damage, but it's the projectiles that are nerfed entirely, so they do no damage at all. So we've learnt that we can't block magic damage, but we can block all damage from arrows, and tipped arrows obviously combine the two together. So what is it going to be? This test is incredibly simple. I've done it on all the different types of arrows, and I'll do them for you right here as well. You can see that the arrow just drops down off of the shield as it ricochets, and these are all tipped arrows in here, and I've tried all the different types. At no point does the effect get passed on to the player, and that includes the spectral arrow as well. When it comes to shields and axes, there is a special ability that every type of axe has when successfully landing a hit on a blocking shield to actually disable it for 5 seconds. There's a 25% chance of this happening when the hit is successfully landed, and efficiency will actually increase this by 5% per level. So if you have efficiency 5 on your axe, then you've got a 50% chance to disable the shield from blocking for 5 seconds. Now an extra 75% is added to that if the player is sprinting when they attack, and this means that it works 100% of the time. However, there must be a 90% or better weapon cooldown when you're sprinting. So if you've been spam clicking and you're sprinting and you attack, it's not going to add that 75% unless your weapon cooldown is 90% or higher. So I'm now going to show you this in action. Be sure to pay attention to the hotbar and the shield because you'll visibly be able to see it being disabled when we get attacked. Now we're going to get attacked by a skeleton that has efficiency level 15, and this means that it actually works 100% of the time. And another thing to point out is that even if the cooldown is in process, when you get attacked again, it will be reset. So let's do that. This guy will get us every time because he's got efficiency level 15. I'm blocking, you can see the shield is disabled, and when he attacks me again, it gets disabled again. And again, for 5 seconds each time. And now we're dead. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this episode of Minecraft Mythbusting. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like on this video. And there is one other topic that I could have covered in this video, but unfortunately I kind of ran out of time, didn't even get around to testing it, and that is the radius at which a shield blocks. As some of you may know, it will block like in front of you. However, if you get attacked from behind, this isn't going to work. And as I said, didn't really have time to go into that. I also want to say once again a massive thank you to Skylinerw for hooking us up with the game code and teaching us all about the shields and how they work, because without his help this episode really wouldn't have been possible. I mean, look at how much stuff we were able to cover thanks to the game code. It would have been impossible for me to test all of these different damage types. But anyway, a lot of that has been verified. As I mentioned, I didn't just read the game code, we also checked it against what we see inside the game, which is the best way to do things because sometimes you can read the game code incorrectly. Anyway, I am rambling on. It is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye bye.